What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the OG weapons you can get from the Back to the Future DeLorean in Fortnite Chapter 7 and letting you guys know which ones I think are worth using. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below which of these OG weapons is your favorite to use, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolvedJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So we're going to start off with the shotguns because these are often the most important weapons in Fortnite. And the OG pump is one of the weapons you can obtain from this DeLorean. And this is a huge, fan favorite item, right? I think this pump is borderline, but in my opinion, it's not worth using in Chapter 7. So the OG gold pump has a max damage of 185, which is actually the max damage of the blue iron pump. So any iron pump greater than blue will have a better max headshot damage, and then blue will be equal to it, right? The iron pump also has much more range than the regular pump and a much better ADS accuracy. So when you aim in, your crosshair shrinks a lot more and you have more range. And this is going to make it to where the iron pump is typically going to be a much more consistent shotgun if your aim is good. If your aim isn't the greatest, it kind of doesn't matter which one you use. But if you have good aim, I think the iron pump is going to be a much more consistent shotgun while also having a greater max damage at the higher rarities. The OG pump does have a better body damage than any of the iron pumps. So if you're just going to be getting body shots for some reason, you may end up dealing more damage with the OG pump than the iron pump. But it's hard to equate because shotgun damage is inconsistent as is, but that higher body damage should lead to a bit more consistency, but also the lack of accuracy and the lack of range is kind of like a knock against that accuracy. So it does somewhat go both ways. I think the biggest determining factor when it comes to whether or not you should use this pump shotgun is going to be the feel of it, because this is a very important thing when it comes to pump shotguns in Fortnite, like how the fire rate feels to you, how the swap time feels to you, and the muscle memory you have for it, because in zero build, you're going to be swapping back and forth between your pump and a spray weapon, and you need to have good muscle memory for that swapping. And this makes the iron pump even more worth using, in my opinion, because it's something that you can always have access to pretty much, whereas the OG pump, you have to get lucky to get it from the DeLorean. So it's just most likely, I feel like, that a lot of Chapter 7 players have a better muscle memory with the iron pump than they do the regular pump. But if you're someone who plays OG a lot or you play reload a lot, you might have a better feel for the OG pump, and that might be something that kind of tips it over the edge for you. But overall, I think the iron pump is going to be better. The lever action shotgun is another shotgun from OG that you can get from the DeLorean. And this gun is not good at all, in my opinion. And it hasn't been good for several years. Apparently, it was good in Chapter 2, Season 5. I didn't play that season. But from then onward, it's been terrible. And I think it's still terrible. It's been an incredibly underwhelming weapon for a long time. This is like a somewhat in between a pump and a spammy shotgun, right? So it's like not quite as slow as a pump, but also not quite as hard hitting. And then a bit harder hitting than some spammy shotguns, but not as fast. We have something in the loot pool that just does this better, in my opinion, and that is going to be the Sovereign shotgun. The Sovereign shotgun is also like kind of an in-between between a spammy and a pump style shotgun. And the lever does have a higher base damage than the Sovereign, and the gold version of the Sovereign and the gold lever actually have the same damage cap at 155 for a max damage shot. But the lever does have higher base damage, so you might end up with like a little bit higher damage body shots or a little bit more consistent damage in some situations. But the Sovereign has a better fire rate even when aimed in. So the Sovereign has a faster hip fire rate than when you aim in, but when you aim in, you get a large accuracy bonus, which should equate to better damage, right? So even the slow version of the Sovereign shoots faster than the lever action shotgun. And the range difference between these shotguns is astronomical. The Sovereign shotgun has a lot of range. The lever action shotgun has not very much range at all. While hip fired, they both don't have the greatest accuracy, but the fact that you can aim in with the Sovereign to get a large bonus there is something that should also help you do more consistent damage at any sort of range fight. So I just think the lever is not worth using at all and not good. If you want that style of weapon, I think the Sovereign just does it much better than what the lever does. The minigun is another weapon you can get from the DeLorean, and this I was actually very much surprised with. I've never been the biggest fan of the miniguns in Fortnite. I feel like typically I have a lower opinion on them than most other people. But this thing absolutely melts in close to medium range. It will also destroy cars incredibly fast and do a lot of damage to enemy cover, which can be really helpful in team game modes. In solos, it's a bit rough to just try to spray out somebody's cover because you're making yourself a sitting duck, like easy target. But if you have the minigun with other teammates also spraying, you don't draw as much attention, and you can melt down cover incredibly quick. Obviously, at range, it will struggle, but that's not really what you're using this for, right? Even if the damage at range was fine and the accuracy was fine, you'd probably prefer to have the Deadeye at range, right? So, like, the minigun is more of a close to medium range weapon. If you're going to use this, you probably want to play, you know, pretty aggressive. And I don't think it's the best thing in the game right now, but it's actually very good, and it is comical how fast you can eliminate some people using this. So if you're looking for something different to use, to also, like, to mix things up, but also have, like, a solid weapon still, I think the minigun is actually very solid, and I didn't mind using it. We also have 2 SMGs you can get from the DeLorean. We have the compact SMG and the drum gun. Both of these SMGs are, like, fine, I guess, but they really struggle at anything past close range. And the Hollow Rush SMG and the Flex SMG both do, like, just as good up close, I would say, and also much better at medium range. Neither the compact SMG nor the drum gun have accuracy that will result in you getting good damage at range or, like, consistently landing shots at range. But the Flex SMG is actually very accurate at range, and then the Hollow obviously has a sight, so it's perfectly accurate. So I think if you're wanting to use a third-person SMG style weapon, the Flex is going to be a much better choice overall because it does okay up close, and then it does a lot better in medium to long range. So I think the Flex just easily clears either of these SMGs, and I wouldn't really recommend using them. The Scar assault rifle is also attainable from the DeLorean, and this weapon has been outdated for a super long time. It can be okay-ish at medium range, but I don't think but like the Chapter 7, or like the SMGs I just talked about, the Flex SMG is going to be better in close and medium range. The Flex SMG, I think, is just a significantly better weapon if you want the versatile third-person weapon, because that's kind of what the Scar is offering. It's not the greatest at long range, but it's versatile and okay in close and medium, and then it's also third-person, which some people prefer. If you want something that checks those boxes, the Flex SMG is much better. It's going to be better at close range, and then the bloom of the Scar makes it a struggle to use at any decent range, really, while the Flex SMG aimed in will have much less bloom while still having a higher fire rate, because the Flex SMG, when you aim in, it shoots a bit slower but does more damage. That slower fire rate of the Flex is still better than the Scar's fire rate. The damage of the Flex is a bit lower, but the fire rate and the accuracy, I think, is going to make up for it in most fights because you can more consistently land shots. And if you're someone who's played with the Scar at all, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. The bloom on this thing is atrocious, so I wouldn't recommend using it. Wouldn't recommend using either the drum gun or the compact SMG. I think for that playstyle, the Flex is just going to be significantly better. The hunting rifle is also added back through this, and this is actually really solid if you're good with it. So body shots will do around 100 damage, and then headshots with the gold hunting rifle will deal 250 damage, making it a one-shot and zero build, and this is actually the only one-shot weapon in the game right now because the other sniper doesn't deal 250 damage. So you don't have a scope on this, and it's I'd say it's a more difficult weapon to use than the other sniper, but this is going to be really good for aggressive playstyles, especially since we can aim in while in air now. So shockwaving onto somebody and then hitting them with a hunting rifle shot while in air and then swapping to your shotgun to hit the finish. I think this is going to be a very good weapon for aggressive players, and if you're decent with it at medium to long range, you can catch a lot of players off guard with an insta-kill headshot, which a lot of players aren't expecting, especially since this isn't in the actual loot pool. It's not going to be a weapon that people come up against a lot, so most people aren't really going to be thinking about it or aren't going to be prepared for it. So I think the hunting rifle is very good, provided you know how to use it and you have like a good feel for the bullet drop on it. So I personally don't use it very much, so it's not a good weapon for me, but if you feel comfortable with it, you're going to be a problem on the map. The infantry rifle was also added back through this, and it can be okay, but the enforcer AR has such similar stats that I think you're probably just better off with the enforcer AR. So the body damage difference between the gold enforcer and the gold infantry is just 1 more damage for the infantry rifle at 44 and then 43 for the gold enforcer. The headshot damage is a bit larger at 88 for the infantry and 75 for the enforcer. And then the fire rates are basically the same at 3.9 for the enforcer and 4 for the infantry. And the fire rate stat in game is shots per second. So a 1/10 of a shot more per second in favor of the infantry is not a significant difference. One thing that I think is a significant difference is that the Enforcer AR has double the magazine size at 20 versus 10. And even the Enforcer AR with 20 is pretty low. So 10 on the infantry is something that you're really going to notice. And then the Enforcer AR also has much less recoil, making it easier to use and a little easier to be, consistent with. And I think that's going to be the difference maker here. The infantry gets a slight edge in damage, but I don't think that's close enough to make up for how much easier the Enforcer AR is to use, how much more forgiving it is because of that better magazine size. And an added benefit to the Enforcer is that it's in the regular loot pool, so you can use it every game and be more familiar with it, and that's going to lead to you being better with the weapon and more consistent with the weapon, I think. And that goes for basically everything I talked about in this video. The pump is good, but you can have the iron pump easily every game, so I'd rather just use that. The Flex SMG is significantly better than those other SMGs and the Scar, and you can also have it every game and practice with it and use it every game and be like super used to it, The Enforcer AR, you can have it every single game, and that familiarity with the weapon, I think, is something that can go a long way in making you better. So unless these OG weapons were like much better than their counterpart, like the hunting rifle doesn't really have a true counterpart, that makes it pretty usable. The minigun doesn't really have a true counterpart. I think that makes it pretty usable. The pump, as I said at the start of the video, is borderline, and those are kind of the main ones that are worth using, I think. The hunting rifle, the pump, and then maybe the minigun if you want something that's a little trolly while also being pretty good. The 6-shooter is also a weapon you can get from the DeLorean, but don't use it. It's one of the worst weapons that has ever existed in Fortnite. And with how the game plays currently, having 6 shots like that in a close range fight versus the twin hammer shotguns, it's not going to go well for you at all. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below which of these OG weapons is your favorite to use, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.